NFC North has been really interesting as well. I feel like between the Packers and Lions, they're dead set in the playoffs, but the Bears could potentially make the wild card. The Vikings are still very much in the mix if they can get their quarterback situation right. They're very much in the mix. So that NFC North is very interesting. And then the NFC West, I mean, you can even throw in the Niners. This is a team that also has had a bunch of injuries. And yet, despite whether it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, still scraping together wins. I don't know if their wins for me have been super impressive, but between the losses on defense and your losses on offense, the 49ers have also been a huge surprise. I would have thought this team would have floundered by the injuries they've lost to.
Yeah, and the both NFC and the AFC West have kind of been a three-team lock at the top where you have a team like the Chargers and the Seattle Seahawks where you're not quite sure, and then the Broncos with Sean Payton, and then you just look at some of the coaches in that division. It's pretty historic, but let's go over each team and give them their grade. Then we're gonna recap the stats, playoff pictures, and hand out some awards here. So definitely a segment. Get your popcorn ready. And I say we just start out. Let's get the NFC South out of the way.
All right, let's start with the Bucks. For me, despite their injuries, Baker Mayfield has been an MVP candidate up to this point. I think I have to give them an A minus. Your injuries, it hurts to see it. And Mbuka's been banged up. Mike Evans has been banged up. Bucky Irving, but they're still strong. They have a 2-game lead in that division, and I don't suspect the Panthers, Falcons, and Saints to catch. I'll give them an A minus so far.
Yeah, no, you're a team that is in a division with three teams that are not serious NFL teams, and you're going out there, you beat each of those teams, done exactly what you need to do. So, credit to the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield holding the team on his back right now, and you're heading into a bye kind of exactly where you need to be. So, I give them an A minus as well. You haven't been an A or A plus team, but you've done exactly what you need to do to win, and then a little bit more. So, you earn above a B.
All right. And then we have the Panthers. They're 4-4. I believed in the Panthers. I thought that they were going to be an interesting team, maybe not a playoff team. They won 3 straight games. They just got blown up by the Bills. I still don't believe in them to be in the playoff race at the end of the day. I am going to give them a solid B grade, though, for the fact that they've had some impressive wins. That Falcons game shines out for me, and they've had a few come from behind wins as well. So I'm going to give them a B. I think they've played fairly well.
Yeah, and I think this is a team that started out the season. We're pretty concerned about them. I feel like everyone in the NFL was holding their breath, especially when it looked like Bryce Young had turned back the clock again and not in a good way. And then you come out, you win 3 straight games. Rico Dowdle, even though Chuba Hubbard is still ahead of him, for some reason, still top five in rushing. You have Tedero McMillan, who's looked pretty good for you. And then overall, Dave Canales has just done a good job coaching this team against teams that maybe are a little bit better or teams that you're in the same league with and just navigating them to victory. Sure, you'll have your games where you get blown out by the Bills, but you've had some pretty good performances and won some games you probably shouldn't have been in at all.
Yeah, so credits to them. Next, we have the Falcons. I know how you feel about the Falcons. They've lost 2 straight games. They're 3-4. Very weird team to pick for me. They were the third worst team according to the Brickyard. On one hand, they beat the Bills and they beat the Commanders and they beat the Vikings fairly considerably. But on the other end, they got blown up by the Panthers. They got blown up by the Dolphins and the Niners game. For me, I give them a C because I'm like, who is this team? I don't know if this team should be fighting for a playoff card when they have the Drake Londons and Bijan Robinsons of the world, or if this team should be fighting for a lottery pick. So I have to give them a C. I don't know what this team is at all.
Yeah, I give them N for a not a serious team. I mean, this is a team that got shut out after leading every statistical category except for points, and then you lose to the Miami Dolphins. Of all teams, I guess the Dolphins heard me compare the Falcons to them in their heyday and got offended and decided to turn back the clock. And Jalen Waddle having one of the best games of his career versus Miami. Tua looking like a top five quarterback again versus the Atlanta Falcons. So they get a F from me.
Yeah. And then the Saints to end it, they're 1-7. And I'm going to give them an H for heart because they're trying their best out there. They're playing with the power of friendship, but it's just not enough. Their team, their defense is rattled with injuries. Their quarterback situation is not ideal, but I still feel like they've been fairly competitive even in their losses. So I don't want to ridicule them and give them an F. We knew what we were going into. We expected them to be bad. We had them going 1-16. So they're exactly where they are. I give them an H for heart.
Yeah, I give them a S for Skip Bayless name and grade for them. I bet if he was on Undisputed or First Take right now, it's like this team is Spencer rattled right now. Every time I see him play, this is not Spencer Rattler. I call him Spencer Rattled, just like I call Carson Wentz because he winces in the pocket. So they get the Skip Bayless Award for Spencer Rattled.
All right. And then let's go to the West in the NFC. Let's get the worst out of the way with the Cardinals. I don't think a grade F is appropriate. I give them a Z, the lowest letter on the alphabet. 5 consecutive losses. They've been pathetic. They lost to the Titans, who might only win one game this year. You get torched, and all of these games are close, but you still just know in the heart of your mind that they're not going to win these games. Even with the Saints and Panthers games, we're far too close for comfort. This team is bad. I give them a Z.
Yeah, I give them the Bruce Buffer Award for and still the worst team in the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals. The worst winning percentage of any NFL team, I believe, since their existence.
And that's 100 years, by the way, of being bad. Then we have the Niners. Despite their injuries, they're still 5-3, still very much in that division. Just a half game back of the Seahawks and Rams. So, despite their injuries, I got to give them a B for what they've been able to do. Mac Jones has seemed to find his place in San Francisco despite Brock Purdy's injuries. And they've been scraping together wins, but got to give them credit there. They're 5-3, still very much in the wild card race. So, I will give them a B for their performance so far.
Yeah, and Kyle Shanahan gets to give them a I for I told you so. We should have taken Mac Jones over Trey Lance. What on earth were we thinking? I mean, if this is what Mac Jones can do with the injury riddled 49ers, think about what he could have done with the 49ers at the peak of their powers with what Trey Lance was showing us, with what Jimmy Garoppolo was showing us. So, Kyle Shanahan kind of gets to take a little bit of a victory lap with the front office when he was the one who wanted to take Mac Jones in the first place.
And he would have been right. Then we have the Rams. They're 5-2. They've shown to be well. I mean, the power of Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams on that same team. Kyron Williams has played well for you. Matt Stafford still playing great into his late 30s. They've had some good wins there. So I'm going to still give them a B plus. I don't know if I can anoint them quite to be the pillars of excellence in the NFC, but I think they're definitely almost there. I give them a B plus from what I've seen from them so far.
Yeah, I'll give him a B plus now. There's really not much to say except they've done exactly what they need to do.
Yeah. And the Seahawks, one of the biggest surprise teams in the NFL. Their defense has played well. Even in their losses, they've only lost by 4 points to the Niners in opening week of the season, and then a shootout with the Bucks that didn't go their way. But ultimately, every game that they've gone up against, they've played well. So I give them an A minus for where they are. I don't know if I believe them fully in the full playoff picture, but I got to give them credit. I didn't expect them to be as good as they've been so far through the first half. They've played well, so they get an A minus.
Yeah, I'll give them an A, especially our expectations for the Seattle Seahawks coming into the year. Not a lot of people knew what to make of this team, but you have a rookie head coach right now, and it seems like his specialty is defense, and he's really been able to bring that team along so far. And Sam Darnold has continued what he learned from Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota, to Seattle. You also have the top receiver right now as far as receiving yards in Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. So you won that DK Metcalf trade. So A for the Seattle Seahawks.
All right. And then let's do the NFC North. The Vikings, they're 3-4 at the bottom of their division. Really, the highlight for them this year has been their quarterback play. JJ McCarthy, not looking like the guy. He gets hurt. Carson, Wince, comes in, doesn't play amazing to start, gets banged up, and now they're potentially throwing out Max Brosmer into this game. Maybe they make a trade before the deadline's over, but I feel like I have to give them an I for incomplete because ultimately they're an incomplete team. I still believe in their defense. I still believe in their offensive talent. It's just can they get their quarterback right? So I see them in the offseason taking a big swing at potentially a veteran quarterback. Maybe that fills their void, but I give them an I for incomplete.
Yeah, I feel like I for incomplete is fair. I'll roll with that grade. I mean, you really can't assess this team right now. Carson Wentz getting injured again. JJ McCarthy, he stepped in there and got hurt. So, really in a tough spot right now, but I think this team will be able to turn it around next year, but I think this season's potentially over with and you might need a retool.
Yeah, I might need to retool there. Then we have the Bears. A lot of expectations. People were putting them in the Super Bowl with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. And to this point, they've been a bit of a mixed bag. Even with their wins, I'm not overly impressed. You beat the Raiders and Commanders by a combined 2 points. And other than that, it's the Cowboys and Saints. Otherwise, when you faced off against real competition, you've gotten blown out by the Lions. The Vikings handled your business and they blew a massive lead against them. And then you can't beat Tyler Huntley. So this team is F for fake, insignificant. I just don't believe in them down the stretch to make the playoffs, and their schedule gets really tough. So honestly, if I'm being completely fair to them, I'm going to give them a C minus.
Yeah, no, definitely a C minus. That's the grade I was gonna go with. I was gonna give them a C, but for the Bears, you beaten the Cowboys, who have been wildly inconsistent. You beat the Saints, who might be the worst team in the league. Great, glad you did that. And then you barely beat the Raiders, and that was a really close game. And we know how bad the Raiders are now in retrospect. And then, you go out there, get blown out by Snoop Huntley for me. This is a team that is not going to be good after Thanksgiving, in my estimation. So, definitely a disappointing start for the Bears this season.
And then let's talk about the pillars of excellence. We have the Lions. They are 5-2. Everyone counted them out because they lost Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. They're still at the pillars of the NFL with an efficient offense. Jared Goff playing great. Amon Ra, potentially an offensive player of the year candidate for how he's played. Jahmyr Gibbs is in the mix there as well. You got to give this team an A for what they've gone through, losing pretty much their entire coaching staff outside of Dan Campbell and still being in the mix for that division, despite the Packers being what they are. They got to get an A for what they've done.
Yeah, no, Lions definitely get an A.